me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance. You could take a look in a book, that's fine. Or you could sit back, relax, and unwind and read me romance. Read me romance.
Welcome back, lady listeners.
Hey, lady listeners. Welcome to a brand new week at Read Me Romance. You are here with your hosts, Alexa Riley, the writing duo. I'm Leah.
Mel.
That's us. I don't know how else to do this intro. I don't know. You think at some point we'd get it smooth, but until then, here we are.
I'll hear other podcasts and I'll be like, oh, they do that every time and it sounds good.
It sounds so natural. And we're both just like, hey. I think it's because we talked so much before, when we're like, oh, okay, so this and this, we need to do this or whatever. And then we get on and we're like, okay, now go.
Yeah.
If this is your first week with us, thank you so much for being here. If you are a longtime lady listener, we love you. Welcome back. And you're in for a treat because you're here to hear Jenika Snow. And we've had her on the podcast before. We love her. She's amazing. I love Jenika.
So I've read so much of her stuff.
Oh my God. I know.
I feel like I've been reading her for decades.
Yep. That's what it feels like too. Because even when I was pulling up stuff on my Kindle the other day, like old school stuff I have Jenika, like old stuff where I'm like
those old ass covers and she's been recovering them. That's why when I met her for the first time in person, I was like, how old are you?
I know.
She's so young. And I'm like, but I've been reading you I feel like my whole life.
I know. And for some reason, when I met her, I was shocked at how tall she was. I was like, what's going on here? How are you so tall? And she's tiny, but still I don't know. It was just funny. I remember the first time I hugged her, I was like, I think we're the same height. And I was like, I don't know why I didn't expect that the first time I met her. I think you just have based on photos and stuff you see online, you have this misconception of what people are like in real life. But she's even better in person. She's so funny and she's quick-witted and she's got it's in her writing. She's got great comebacks, good sass, just in general in her personality and talking and stuff. And I really loved it when she came up for a book signing in North Carolina a few years ago. There was a bookstore here in Kannapolis that she and Trisha Wolfe and Abby Knox came to, and I went. And it was so fun afterwards just to sit around talk shop, talk about books. And she was talking about her Patreon and everything she does with it. And she was like, you guys should be doing a Patreon. And I'm like, okay, you convinced us. All right. Yeah, she's awesome though. Love her and so glad she's back. And she's brought us a holiday book called Candied, which I am so excited to listen to. So, but I guess we can talk about her in a little bit. We'll read her book blurb and all that good stuff, but we'll catch up first. Have you read anything good lately? I know it's Thanksgiving this week. I didn't know if you had taken any time to read anything.
No, I haven't read. We went to the movies on Friday, and then we've been messing with my son's room. We're redoing it.
That's right.
And now my dad got the idea that we need to redo the decks, and we had to go pick out a door, and I was...
Okay.
A lot going on. Hunting was this weekend too.
We went to a football game.
No time for reading.
Yep. We went to a football game. That was what we did. But I talked about last week the book that I had finished and everything. And so I have a couple other books that I've been saving. But I went to a bookstore the other day. There was so I don't know if she'll hear this or not. If you're listening, Jessica, hey, what's up? There is a reader of ours, of Alexa Riley, and we met on Instagram a long time ago. And so I did a book signing. And she came to it one of the last times I went to one. And so we ended up being friends in real life. And so, which is crazy to think about, but that we just met online and ended up, she was a normal, wonderful person, so, and we had a lot in common, and she's not too far from here. She's only about 45 minutes from me. So a couple of weeks ago we met up and we went to a bookstore, and it was really fun to just that was the whole mission. Just to meet up, we had breakfast, and then we went to a bookstore, and then we just stayed there all day, and it was great. So, hold on, I'll show you what I got.
That actually sounds like a good time to me. Maybe I'm getting old. I'm like, that sounds great.
That's the best thing. And I'm like, that's all we wanted to do. And so we decided, like, okay, next time let's go to a different bookstore. And so we're just going to go to different bookstores and do this. So if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can see these books as I hold them up, but I'm just going to tell you about them. I haven't read any of them yet, so I won't put them in the show notes. When I read them and talk about like the books themselves, I'll put them in the show notes. If I don't like them, I'm never going to talk about them again. Okay. So I'll just never mention them again. So this one is one that I saw like at the checkout. It's called An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. And it's like a tiny little book, but it had such a great blurb and a good hook on it that I was like, I got to read that. But it's basically about this woman. It's Maud. Her name is Maud. Whatever. She's 88 years old. She has no family, no friends, and no qualms about a little murder. This funny, irreverent story collection by Helen Tursden, author of the whatever, will keep you laughing the entire way to the retirement home. So anyway, so this woman, Maud, in this book, this 88 years old, her dad dies when she's young. And through some kind of loophole, she gets to stay in this apartment in this really swanky building and doesn't have to pay rent. So she gets to stay there. So now she's 88 years old, and this new guy's moved in and wants her out because he wants her apartment. And she's like, you know what would fix this? Murder. So that's what the book is about. And it's like this little short story, but it's An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helen Tursden, translated. I guess it's translated from another language, but I just thought it sounded fun. And I love a good old lady murder mystery. Those are my favorite.
I mean, if you're going to murder, you should wait till you're 80 because you might get caught.
Exactly. And at that point, it's like, I mean, is this any different is prison really different from a retirement home?
I don't even know if they can put you in prison when you're that much older. They might have to put you in like a hospital or something.
Maybe so. Maybe that's the sentence. And at that point, it's probably cheaper than some sort of nursing home. Maybe it's more economical to just kill somebody in your late 80s.
Do you know who got out of prison? I don't know, because I think a lot of our viewers are around our age. Do you remember the Slenderman girls?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They stabbed their friend or whatever. One was going to be they said forever, and then loony bin. She ends up getting out. She'd been going through all these hearings and finally let her out like 6 months ago. The one that's like really schizophrenic.
Yeah.
This bitch went missing. She cut off her bracelet, like disappeared for 2 days. They found her today.
Oh shit! What was she doing?
I don't know. I've been busy today, but I was like, oh, they caught her.
Well, okay. Thank goodness, because who knows where that's going to go.
But it made me think of that with the hospital. I was like, yeah, she was in that mental hospital. Because I felt bad for her. I was like, don't they have a place that's almost like, I don't feel like she can be in society. But I don't feel like she should be in a loony bin or prison either.
Yeah.
Is there like an in-between, like a college campus area? Like that style? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a dorm where she's monitored. Yeah. I mean, I guess like a halfway house.
Yeah. Well, she was in a halfway house, but more of a sane people halfway house.
Yeah. I mean, a place like that where you have to check in. It's kind of like when you're on parole, you know, if you're living in a halfway house after parole, you have to check in and stuff with the parole officer or whoever's there, like monitoring when you come and go. You have to sign in and out and stuff.
I know it's random. If you guys, there's a YouTube channel called Explore With Us. They have the interrogation of those girls when they were little. And it is the most interesting they're not interrogating them like they do. Like they're just talking to these girls. And I feel like it is the most real interview you're going to get from a schizophrenic. Because they're not hiding it. Like they are openly talking about it. They're like, this is why we did this. So there's not you're getting a real explanation from somebody with schizophrenia.
Oh, that is interesting.
To me, I'm like, this is the most interesting interrogation I've ever seen.
I bet that's been studied like crazy then.
But it's out there on Explore With Us. You can find it.
Well, and speaking of that, like interesting things, this other book I picked up is called The Secret Lives of Color. and it was on a table because I was looking for a poetry book. There's an author, there's a poet that I like, that they had a new book out, and I went upstairs to try to find it in this bookstore, and this was on the table. And I walked by, and it's like it's like just polka
I
dot.
like that cover. I like the cover of the other one too.
I know. This is a really pretty like hardback, but look at the side. I don't know if you can see, it's all different
the pages
shades.
are pretty.
It's like rainbows. But what's cool about it is that when you go through, it's like each the end of every page is a tab. It's like a color. So every page is a different color name. Hold on, let me pull up one. Let me get to the colors. All right, so this one's called Indian Yellow, and it has a story about it. This one's Acid Yellow, and then you can flip further. This one's called Minimum is the name of the color, Nude. So this is all about colors, how they get their name, where they're from, if they have like an interesting story about it. So it's like, if there's like the color mauve or whatever, like when did the color first appear in society? Why is it called the name that it's called? What other colors make it up? But sometimes too, it's a cultural significance when they're like, oh, this was introduced by, Native Americans during this time. It was passed down through this tribal colors or, this kind of culture and stuff. So I just found that fascinating. Like, why certain colors get it. And it's nice because this is in like bite-sized things too. So each color has like a page description on it. So it's not like a huge in-depth thing, but it's more interesting facts on why colors are called what they're called. And when I picked it up and I started thumbing through it, and I was like, this would be neat for like book stuff, for like writing or whatever. I don't know. I just felt like that would probably spark stories, like in an imagination sort of thing. Like if you think about the color and the story to it, it's like, oh, I could write a book on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
When I was going through it, I just found it really interesting, like some of the color. And there's like fun facts about it too, like their color cerulean and like where it first came up. And it says a Spanish poet and artist was having drinks with a friend in the smart new Parisian cafe. Like that's where it just sort of starts on how they came up with the color cerulean. So I found that really interesting. That's the secret lives of color.
I wonder how you like code it and you get to name it and claim it. I don't know how, because to me colors are numbers.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, because you do a lot of Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah, so colors are numbers to me. So I was like, God, that would be hard to track, it seems like.
Well, I think isn't that with like Pantone or whatever? They have like their color of the year or whatever it is, and they're like numbers and stuff. So maybe it's based on that too. This was published by Penguin, but it's by Cassia St. Clair. So like I said, the cover's really pretty, and it's kind of like iridescent really a little bit. Pretty. Yeah. Yeah, it's really pretty. And then one of the books I was looking for, Kate Bayer is a poet, and this is one of her books. I don't think I've read this one. There's a new one that she has out, but I haven't found that yet. And I don't want to just order it on Amazon. I'm trying to make a point that I have a wish list, like my TBR list of like the books I want to read. I'd save those, or I like save it to a wish list on Amazon. And then when I go to a bookstore, I pull it up and I shop from that list.
Oh, that's smart.
I know. So I try to buy them independently. Even if somebody's like, oh, you should read that book. I'm like, okay, well, I can find it quick on my phone and save it to my wish list on Amazon. But I'm trying to be really intentional about buying it from indie bookstores instead. So I haven't found this in store yet. And there is a local bookstore I can order it from. So I had to email them and tell them to order it. But anyways, so this one's called What Kind of Woman by Kate Bayer. And it's really good. She's a great poet, and I really enjoy her stuff. So that was one. And then the other one is called Girl Dinner by Olive Blake. And again, this cover is really pretty.
One. I know. Read that.
Look how pretty that like sprayed edges.
Oh, but man, I wish I would have bought that. I bought 2 Girl Dinner books a few weeks ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Like this book?
No, that was one of the ones I debated getting.
Oh, okay. So I don't know anything about this. So the girl I was with, Jessica, she was like, oh, I've heard of this one. But if you're watching, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the cover. This is what the author else has written. It's a 6 of Atlas, I think. The Atlas 6 by Olive Blake. I think it's Olive or Olivia Blake. That's her. So yeah, from what I've understand it's 2 friends that are in like a sorority, but the reason I got it was my friend picked it up and she was like, "Oh, did you see Allie Hazelwood and Katie Robert like blurb the back of this?" And I looked, and Alessandra Torre did the blurb the back of it too. And I was like, "Wait a minute, all three of these ladies said it was great." So, and it says, "Dig into Girl Dinner, a darkly funny novel about power, lust, and eating your fill," from New York Times bestselling author Olivia Blake. So
That cover is really the
really
hardback is
striking.
really pretty. That's one of the
Mhm.
prettiest hardbacks I've seen in a long time. Seeing it in
Yeah.
person or being able to see it like this is way better than seeing it online.
Yeah, it's really pretty too. And like, I don't know if you can see too, when I take the jacket off, it's got a
That hot
hardcore, but
pink.
yeah, it's got the hot pink
Oh,
edges, but it's
I
got
see
something
that.
on
Yes,
it. It's
it's
like a seal.
embroidered or
Yeah.
something.
It's got
Etched or
some kind of like, yeah, etching in it. I think is it a fork or a
looks like a
spoon?
fork.
Oh, it's a fork. It looks like noodles wrapped around the fork. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like pasta noodles or
Pasta.
something. Yeah. But I mean, it's got like a really pretty like foil spine, and then it's just those hot pink edges are really pretty. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful book, but I saw both of those and I was like, this was one that caught my eye. And then my friend Jess was like, "Oh yeah, like I've heard about this one. I've heard it's really good." It's like, well, okay. And one of the ladies in my book club had talked about maybe reading that one at some point for a book club. So I was like, well, I'll pick it up while I'm here. But so that was my little book haul from my indie bookshop. So please consider supporting indie bookstores this holiday season, if not for yourself, but for other people. Because I'm the worst about like, oh, that looks like a great gift for me. So especially when it comes to bookstores. But, you know, I know it means a lot more to independent bookstores than it does to the big box stores. So that's all.
You know
That's
who does
just a reminder.
interesting prints all the time?
Who?
Jenika Snow.
Fuck yes, she does. Fuck yes, she does. That was an excellent transition, Melissa.
She really
Excellent.
maybe what I was thinking of different. She'll do different
Mhm.
covers and stuff like that, and they're always
Yeah.
interesting and different
She'll do like a
prints.
clinch cover, and then she'll do a discrete cover, and then she'll do like an updated one, or she does a bundle or whatever, and she'll do like really fun like whole designs on them and stuff, like the inside and everything, and they're just beautiful. So, and that's on her Patreon too, so make sure you check that out. But she's got just all kinds of stuff, but especially in her Patreon, she's got a ton of extra stuff and books and everything that you can't get anywhere else. So if you're a fan of Jenika Snow, like we are, you're going to want to go check that out.
I feel like she's one of the authors that like I really like that can still write shorts and gets audiobooks out. And she has a lot of content. Sometimes with the authors that have the shorter books, they're just go, go, go. And they're just doing a book after book. But she's got all the different things that come with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think she like does great about launching a product where it's like when she does have a new book out, she's going to give you everything with it. So, and I love it. And she, I think I think our stories kind of like our career paths maybe parallel a little bit with like Jenika, like how long she's been writing and the kinds of stories that she publishes and stuff. And I think there's a lot of similarities in us. I'm sure we have a lot of crossover in our readership. I mean, her books can sometimes be like darker, where ours can be like more silly and stuff, but her books are always dirty and so good. So that's one thing I love when I pick her books up. I'm like, oh, I want something nasty. What's Jenika got out that's new?
She does what you're probably going to talk about here in a second. She does the dirtier books under like J Snow that are on Smashwords and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about that too before. I think whenever we did the last book she had on here, I cannot remember which one it was now that she had on the podcast with us before. We talked about that she has like an alternate pen name where she does like taboos and stuff like that.
There's a trucker one that's superb.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No, what was the one she had? Holy fuck. I'm not gonna remember the name of it. Was it Beast? Was that the name of the one where like the girls in the like the wolf is like braiding her hair? Fuck, what was that one?
I can't remember.
Where he's like chasing her in the woods. Oh my God, she's gonna murder me for not knowing this. And she's like, you're not even telling them about it. I'm gonna have to look it up. Hold on.
I don't know how you're gonna find it. She's got 5 million books.
I know. I'm gonna know it when I see the cover. I'm gonna be like, that's the one.
Unless she's changed it.
I just love that one of the first things that popped up is her book, Just the Tip. Fucking shit, that was great. That was such a good one.
She had that whole series. Is it Real Men?
Mm-mm.
Is that what it's called?
No, I can't remember. I'm gonna find it. Hold on.
God, it feels like
That's
there's
not
so
it.
much stuff.
She has so many books, but it was one. God, I'm gonna go crazy trying to find it. I don't know what's on here. God damn it.
Let's see here. She had a vampire one that just came out.
Let me write this down too.
And we've talked about her Lycan series, which is the audios are phenomenal. Some of the best audios I've heard is from her Lycan series.
God, they're so hot. Mm-hmm.
And then
hold on, I wrote
Stuck
it.
and Blow. That's a good title. Oh, it's got a man with like that's all like older, super older.
Oh my gosh.
How did I never see this one? Here, Kitty Kitty.
Yep, I do love that one. Yeah. Did you see the Just the Tip one?
Yes, I've read that one.
That. Yes.
But I have not read this one, Here, Kitty Kitty. That cover's hot, guys. And it's male. You know, you don't get that so much anymore. People don't do menages anymore.
I think it is the Beast.
I started liking the ones where the men were in it too. Mm-hmm. Like a little crossover.
Hold on. No, that's not it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to find it now. Shit. It's been so long. I think it's the Beast, but it's got a different cover. Maybe that's why I can't find it.
Oh, that's what I was thinking when you said I'm gonna go find it. I bet that bitch already recovered it.
That's for fucking sure. I'll just have to look back at my Kindle. I think it is the Beast.
God, I could go on forever. Little Darling was super dark and hot.
Oh my God. Take my daddy, I'll take yours. Hello?
Yeah.
Sometimes
like when I can't find something to read or whatever, I'll go through her stuff and pull up an old audio or something and just put it on.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm looking back now, like I'm looking back through my Kindle on here and I'm like, I have read so many of these and they're all like, I remember all of them too. When I go back and look at the old covers and stuff, I'm like, yep. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, we'll put all of her stuff down in the show notes so you guys can click on it later. And when I think of that book, I'm going to go through and put it on there. I'm pretty sure it was The Beast. I think it's because that's in the series. And I feel like that book Feral is part of it too. I need to stop looking on it, but I'll add it on there when I get it. So, but that one I loved. That's so good.
Well, she has a bunch of free books too on her website. You guys
she does. She sent us that too. She said on her website she has a section that's just freebie ebooks. Sorry, I gotta say that right. But if you go on there and it's like the tab or it's like you just want to try her out or just binge some of her stuff, go on there and do it because there's a ton of stuff. And then she has a brand new monster romance book, that romance audiobook exclusively available on her website. So you can go check that one out. That one's the Primal Monster Beauty. I think, it's Primal is the name of the book, Monsters and Beauty, book 3. And the audio book is exclusively on there. It's $6, which I love. So go get that. So make sure you check those out. And then let me read you her stuff for today, her author bio and the book bio that you're about to listen to. So she's brought us a book called Candied. But Jenika Snow is a USA Today best-selling author who has published hundreds of smutty romances since 2009. Correct. That we've done we fact-checked that. That is correct. So the book, like I said, that you're about to listen to is called Candied, and I'll read you the blurb for that. When my sister Dorothy decided to take a weekend trip to the small holiday-themed town of Candied, Vermont, in order to get her freak on with a guy she met online, I begrudgingly went to make sure she stayed safe. With the town's annual holiday festival in full force, I already knew I'd be thrust into one of the 9 circles of hell this weekend. I had every intention of hanging back and just keeping an eye on my sister. But when she forced me on a double date with her and her new man, I headed off with her date's older brother. Charlie Wyatt is bigger than life, lumberjack of a man, had all of my synapses firing at once. He was all male, and just being in his presence made me feel wholly feminine. Our encounter couldn't be called anything but primal, and when the night ended with one too many drinks, I found myself in his bed. He said I was his. He said he'd gotten a sweet tooth, and I was the only thing who could sate it. He said he wasn't letting me go. And the craziest part of this entire weekend, I wanted Charlie more than I'd ever wanted anything in my life. Candied is a standalone and will not be available in ebook. It is only available in audio on this podcast.
Ooh.
I know.
I was just thinking, I was like, oh, I want to read that. Oh, I bet I have the manuscript.
You do have the manuscript, actually. You literally do. Look at that. Look at that little loophole. I know you're going to get this a week early, Mel, before anybody else can. So, yeah, it sounds hot. I know it's going to be so fun. So, let's send them in and do it.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys on the other side.
This is Candied by Jenika Snow. Read for you by L. Sonali. Chapter 1. This is gonna be great. I looked over at my sister Dorothy, feeling my eyes narrow. She wasn't watching me, but her grin spread, and I knew she could tell I wasn't sharing the same sentiments as her. Yeah, this will be a blast, I muttered with all the sarcasm I felt, and looked out the passenger side window. We were entering the small Vermont town of Candied. It was a picturesque little town, something you'd see in a Hallmark movie or on a postcard. And why were we driving 5 hours, crossing state lines, right before a winter storm? All because my sister met a man on one of those dating apps, and he'd talked her into coming up for Candied's annual Maple Festival. No way was I about to let my younger sister travel alone to meet some random guy. So here I was, suffering in silence, or as silent as I was. If we get stuck in this town because of the snowstorm, I'm never gonna let you live this shit down, Dorothy. Dorothy sighed, but it was one filled with pleasure. I hope we get stuck. I snapped my head in her direction and narrowed my eyes. She looked at me for just a second, a smirk covering her lips. Can you just imagine being stuck in a perfect little town like this? Even the name is too freaking cute. It's nauseating, I shot back. It beats the hell out of the city, am I right? I rested my head back on the seat and didn't respond. She had a point, to an extent, but that didn't mean I wanted to get stranded in Candied, Vermont during a snowstorm while my sister most likely shacked up with some maple-tapping lumberjack. Just the thought of this town gives me the heebie-jeebies. She snorted and shook her head. You not only exaggerate about everything, but you're also the damn Grinch during the holidays. I couldn't argue with that. The holidays had never been my thing. I didn't mind Halloween, but probably because it wasn't cutesy and filled with love and all that bullshit. Valentine's Day, Christmas, I internally cringed. My sister and parents liked to give me a hard time because I was not only antisocial, but I also didn't really do the whole affection thing. But I was fine with that. It's who I had always been. My mother said I just hadn't found the right person to break through that icy exterior. I didn't think anybody would put up with my lack of all that was affectionate and lovey-dovey. But I guess if I did find a man who could put up with my lack of enjoying that sickeningly sweet shit, then he'd be a keeper. Or maybe he'd convert me. An hour later, we were finally entering Candied, Vermont. I expected a holiday-ish feel from the town, especially this time of year, and, of course, their name. But what I wasn't prepared for was the fact that it looked like all things Christmas had thrown up right in the center of town. The streetlights were decorated to resemble candy canes, and snowflakes were strung between them. Every window of every business that was on either side of us was decorated so heavily with the holiday theme, I could practically hear Santa ho-ho-hoing his ass along, smell sugar cookies in the oven, and taste the peppermint on my tongue. It was enough to make me gag. "Oh my God, Dorothy," I muttered under my breath as I stared out the passenger side window. "What the hell have I let you talk me into?" Dorothy was all animated, sitting beside me, nearly bouncing on the seat. I glanced at her and rolled my eyes for what felt like the 100th time during this trip. She wore a huge grin, and her eyes were wide as she looked around. "Oh my God, Penny! This is incredible!" I closed my eyes and rested my head back on the seat, letting out an exaggerated sigh. "You owe me big time for coming with you." "I owe you the biggest of the biggest," she said with so much glee in her voice, I couldn't help but chuckle. "You're so ridiculous." I opened my eyes and smiled at her. I did like seeing her happy. I may have been a Grinch, but seeing my little sister smiling that big made me feel good. Of course, she would find this the most incredible experience of her life. But right now, I was in the 7th circle of hell. Chapter 2. My sister pulled into the parking lot of the small bed and breakfast we'd be staying at for the next couple of days. And although it was just a weekend trip, I felt like I'd be here for an eternity. There was a light flurry of snow that wrapped around me as soon as I got out of the car, and the bite in the air was enough to have me catching my breath and chills racing up my arms and legs. I could practically smell the storm coming and prayed that we'd at least make it out of this town before it hit full on. After grabbing my overnight bag, I followed Dorothy inside. The interior was decorated as if elves had come down from the North Pole and pissed their festivities all over the place. Maybe I was exaggerating in my description, but it felt pretty accurate to me. Probably only to me, though. As Dorothy checked us in, I looked around the front office. It was quaint, with a classic bed and breakfast feel to it. There were pictures on the walls of what I assumed were from the festival from prior years, as well as local businesses when they'd had their grand openings. I kept looking at each one, the pictures seeming to be in chronological order. I stopped at the last one, showing the woman behind the front desk standing with 2 men. She stood in between them, an arm wrapped around each of their waists. The 3 of them stood in front of a storefront with a big, grand opening ribbon strung in the window. The one on the left wasn't as muscular and wore a boyish expression on his face. I wondered why he looked so familiar. It was then I realized it was the guy Dorothy was supposed to meet while we were here. But the other man, the one who was tall and wide, muscular and screamed male, had an air of experience surrounding him that I could practically feel, even through the picture. He was broad, with wide shoulders and thickly muscled biceps. He stared at the camera with just a hint of a smirk playing across his face. My insides clenched painfully as I stared at him. Arousal so strong lit me up from the inside out, and I squeezed my thighs together to try to stem off that insatiable need. It was primal and raw. It was the kind of need a female got when she saw a powerful male and wanted him to claim her. God, I'm losing my damn mind. Are you two here for the annual festival? The lady behind the front desk sounded just as animated as my sister had been, and I tore my gaze from the picture to face her. She looked like she belonged as one of Santa's helpers, or maybe Mrs. Claus herself. Her gray and white streaked hair hung loose around her shoulders, but she'd teased the hell out of it. Her makeup was thick, her eyes having a light green hue, her cheeks overblushed, and her lips red like a candy apple. Her sweater was red with tinsely-looking threads woven throughout it. Her earrings looked like Christmas balls, shiny, bright, and green. And the scarf she wore had candy canes printed all around it. I knew I was going to throw up several times in my mouth being in this town. They took it to the extreme. She noticed I'd been focused on the picture, and her smile brightened. Have you visited the sugar shack? At my blank stare, she gestured to the picture I'd been staring at. I glanced over my shoulder, acting like I was seeing what she meant, when I damn well knew. It was just an excuse to look at Mr. Hot and Sexy Lumberjack again. Dorothy came up to stand beside me, and I heard her sharp intake of breath when she clearly saw the guy in the picture was who she was hooking up with while here. Oh my God, it's him! Penny! You guys haven't swung by the sugar shack yet? The front desk attendant sounded shocked, like we committed some sin by not stopping. I looked over my shoulder when I heard her shuffle toward us. She wore this huge grin as she stared at the picture. Those are the Wyatt brothers. That's Henry, the youngest. She pointed to the man my sister was probably going to let bone her this weekend. And that's Charlie, his older brother. They opened up the sugar shack a couple years ago. They specialize in all things maple-related. Handmade soaps, syrups, candies, even body lotions. She shook her head, that grin still in place. They make everything themselves. They're famous in town and a bit with visitors. I stared at the other man. Charlie. My insides clenched once more, and my mouth had gone dry, my pulse picking up. Never in my life had I felt this way, especially not over just the image of a man. This was a couple of years ago, she said, and pointed to the grand opening sign in the picture. Here, she added, before hastily shuffling back toward the front desk. She started rustling around a stack of paperwork before pulling out 2 small squares of what looked like cardstock. When she handed them over, I looked down at what were clearly coupons. One was for half off any one item, and the other was for a free Wyatt Brothers signature maple and brown sugar mini muffin. Thanks, Dorothy said excitedly as she snatched the coupons from my hands and started fanning herself with them. Are you guys this enthusiastic every year? I couldn't stop myself from asking, and when Dorothy snapped her head in my direction and glowered at me, I just shrugged. I was genuinely curious if this was the norm for them. The front desk lady, who I still had no idea what her name was, beamed as if she were proud of me taking notice of that. Yes, ma'am, she said excitedly. We plan all year for this festival. Tourism increases every single year. I nodded slowly. Great. We are so excited to be here to experience it, Dorothy replied with a huge grin. I couldn't help but chuckle. My sister was loving it, and I couldn't begrudge her for that. Chapter 3. After we were all checked in and shown to our rooms, plural, because I sure as hell didn't want to interfere with whatever sex plans Dorothy had this weekend. I set my bag on the bed and took a shower right away. I was still chilled from the short walk from the car to the B&B, and it felt like this place didn't want to go above 65 degrees. After I stood in the scalding hot spray of water for longer than I probably should have, I dried off, dressed, and used the complimentary blow dryer on my golden brown locks. I slathered on some moisturizer, spread some chapstick on my lips, and then just looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. I didn't think of bringing my straightener, so my hair had a slight wave to it, despite using a brush and blow dryer to try to tame it. I sighed and shook my head. She's a grown-ass adult, I said to my reflection. She can handle herself. I shouldn't have come. I knew that. My little sister wasn't so little anymore. At 23, which was 5 years younger than I was, she had a good head on her shoulders, plans for the future, and didn't make life-changing mistakes. Unlike me, who hadn't finished college because it just wasn't for me, was currently a waitress at a little mom-and-pop restaurant back in the city, and had no friends really, and certainly no love interest. 28, and what do I have going for me? I lifted an eyebrow at my reflection, like it was going to respond back. A whole lot of nothing but a grouchy attitude and forcing myself on my baby sister's weekend sex trip because I'm too protective of her. I sat on the bed and looked around. The room was cute and quaint, with an overabundance of a flower theme going on, like everywhere. And it was the flower design you'd find in the 90s at your grandma's house, all pinks, tans, and burgundy shades with bursting blooms. What have I agreed to? I let myself fall back on the bed and closed my eyes. It was only when I heard knocking at my door that I sat up, realizing I'd fallen asleep. "Penny?" Dorothy called through the closed door, and I rubbed my eyes before standing and opening it, staring at her clearly dressed to go out in the frigid weather. She eyed me up and down, her eyebrow lifting as she took note that I was not ready for what she had planned. "What?" She let out an exaggerated sigh. "So, you wanted to come with me to check out this guy for yourself, but you've been napping?" I shrugged. I'm tired from the trip. She rolled her eyes, but after a moment, I could see her starting to become excited. "He called me, Penny. We made plans for tonight. Dinner." "Great." I nodded. "Okay, well, I'll go, but take a different table." She scowled and shook her head. No?" It was my turn to raise an eyebrow. "Dee, I'm not letting you meet some guy alone. It's a very public restaurant, Penny." "Oh, yeah, good point." But she trailed off, and I waited for her to drop whatever bombs she was about to tell me. "I kind of told him my sister came with me." "Okay." I let that one word hang between us. "My very single sister." I closed my eyes and groaned, because I knew exactly where this was going. Chapter 4. I still couldn't believe I'd let Dorothy talk me into this, but as I sat at the table staring across at her and Henry, the attraction they clearly had for each other strong enough they couldn't keep their hands off the other. I knew I couldn't blame her wholly. I wanted to meet Charlie, to see if my heart stopped and restarted when I saw him in the flesh like it had seeing the picture. The very idea of me having a blind date sprung on me. Although, was it really a blind date if I knew what the guy looked like? Should have been abhorrent to me, especially where it concerned my sister as the matchmaker. But the prospect of seeing Charlie in person had my entire body lit up like I'd been set on fire. In the picture, he seemed so big and rugged, so manly and strong. Maybe in real life it was the complete opposite, or, at the very least, not so intense. I prayed so, for the sake of my libido. But the longer I sat here listening to my sister giggle at whatever Henry just whispered in her ear, it made me want to excuse myself for the rest of the night. And then Henry glanced up and lifted his hand to motion someone over, a big smile spreading across his face. Charlie had to be over 6.5 feet tall, looking like he could crush bone in the palm of his hand. Every part of me tingled and came alive, as if my body knew this was a real man, all male. It felt primal, instant in my need to mate with him. It was insane. I was crazy. I squeezed my thighs together, my sex clenching almost painfully. I was very aware of how hard my nipples instantly became, digging against the material of my shirt. My breath moved in and out of my mouth faster and harder the closer he walked toward us. His thighs were as thick as tree trunks, the dark denim that covered them not hiding the sheer power of those limbs. The black jacket he wore was left unzipped, showcasing the gray shirt underneath, and that gray shirt didn't hide how defined and hard I knew he was underneath. I let my gaze travel right on down to the very defined, very big bulge at the front of his pants. Hell, the denim could barely contain all that cock. I felt like my mouth was hanging open as I stared at him as he came forward. It was then I saw he watched me. His deep blue eyes locked on mine. My cheeks were on fire as I realized he caught me checking him out, staring at his dick bulge. And then he was sitting next to me, his thick arm brushing against mine. I felt like I was starstruck as I craned my neck back to look into his face. He made me feel so small. Henry introduced Charlie to everyone, and I shifted slightly in the chair so I could smile up at him. But my heart lurched in my chest at the dark desire I clearly saw reflected in Charlie's eyes. There was no denying it. It was the same look I'm sure I wore. I held out my hand on instinct, which I felt shaking slightly from the adrenaline mixing in my blood. And when he took my much smaller one in his massive palm, I felt liquid fire pool between my thighs. My clit throbbed in time with my pulse. Hell, that bundle of nerves had its own damn heartbeat right now. The air left me violently, and I quickly snatched my hand back and tucked it under the table in my lap. I snapped my head in Dorothy's direction, fearing they'd seen my reaction to Charlie, but they were too engrossed in their own conversation, with the little touches they gave each other, with the breathy whispers they passed between them. They didn't notice shit, thank God. Maybe Charlie hadn't noticed my instant reaction to him, but when I chanced a glance at him, that hopefulness died. He wore an expression of sensual wickedness. Oh, he'd noticed the effect he had on me. I could see that in the way he looked at me. I could see it in the way he wore that expression, how his jaw worked under his scruff, as if he couldn't control himself either. I had absolutely no idea what was going on, why I felt like this, but what I did know was that I didn't want to ignore it. I wanted to explore it. Henry started talking about the sugar shack, how they started it, the history behind it. As much as I wanted to act like I was interested, listen, I couldn't focus on anything but the feel of Charlie right next to me. I swear he kept his forearm and thigh pressed to mine purposely. It was like he enjoyed making me feel on edge, knowing he affected me so profoundly I couldn't breathe. I was slowly dying of arousal, but God, what a way to go. Chapter 5. For the next hour, it was Henry and Dorothy who did all the talking. We ate, and I drank. I needed the alcohol to get through this, hoping it would tame this incessant arousal burning inside me. It had been a damn mistake. It made me hotter, needing Charlie more. I'd be lying if I didn't admit to picturing what it would be like to have him take me. He was just so big and strong that I imagined being under him as he braced his forearms on either side of my head, as he thrust those, no doubt, massive inches into my wet, willing body. And God, I'd be so wet, soaked. "Are you sure you're okay with us going to catch a movie?" Dorothy asked after we'd been finished with dinner for about 20 minutes. She wore a smile on her face, a grin that told me she wouldn't care if I was or wasn't okay with it. She'd go regardless. I held up my third Santa's Little Helper, tilting the fancy-looking adult beverage in her direction before bringing it to my mouth and taking a long sip. "I think we'll manage," I said, and grinned up at Charlie, who said nothing but stared at me intently. He watched me how a lion watched a gazelle before he attacked it. My throat tightened at the look he gave me. He'd worn it the entire dinner, only really speaking when asked a direct question. But the majority of the time, he looked at me. God, my body was positively zinging with electricity at his close proximity. My lips and tongue were numb from the alcohol, and the buzz moving through my veins had a slow, what I knew was a sensual, smile playing across my face. "Text me when you're back at the room." I snapped my head in Dorothy's direction and felt myself automatically nod. "Text me when you're leaving," I said back. She smiled, nodded, and stood. And after Henry helped her with her jacket, she came over to me and leaned in close to whisper, "I have every intention of going back to his place, Penny, if you know what I mean." I scrunched up my face in disgust and looked at her as she pulled back, that mischievous smile still on her face. Dorothy might have been an adult, but she was still my little sister, and the very thought of her doing that grossed me out. And then they were gone, leaving Charlie and me alone. I didn't waste a second in ordering one more holiday-themed drink. I needed the alcohol to get through this because I was very aware of him. The size of his body, the warmth coming from him, the smell of his cologne, the feel of his arm pressed to mine, of his thighs parallel with mine. I was hot and ready, primed and wet, and the more I felt that liquid courage wash through me, the more I wanted to throw caution to the wind and just tell Charlie to take me somewhere, anywhere, so he could relieve this ache. He shifted in the seat, and I noticed it was so he could look at me better. "You don't talk much," I said, my cheeks hot from the alcohol and, no doubt, red. My face always flamed when I drank, a sure sign I was feeling good. "Or drink much either," I murmured. He still didn't say anything, but I noticed him looking at my lips, then dragging his eyes up to mine before lowering them back to my lips. I licked them on instinct. He watched the act, and I swore he groaned, swore his pupils dilated. This was insane. I didn't know this man from Adam, yet the instant attraction, the lust at first sight, was so strong and potent that I didn't want to deny it. He just seemed so animalistic. And when he leaned in close, so close, I felt his warm breath move across my lips. I tried to force myself not to shiver. I failed, of course. "What are your plans tonight, Penny?" The way he said my name was filled with possessiveness. I didn't even know that was possible, but hell, he said it like it was his, like he owned every part of it. "My plans?" I whispered, then cleared my throat and smoothed my hands over my thighs. He nodded slowly, his gaze bouncing between my lips and eyes. I don't know. I don't really have plans." I lied. Well, it wasn't a lie. My plan had been to go back to my room after buying enough junk food from the little store by the motel, popping on some sappy rom-com, and vegging out until I could get out of Candied. He didn't need to know my depressing details, though, and the longer I looked at him, the more I didn't want to be alone, if you get my drift. "What are your plans?" I asked back. He was silent for a moment, but then leaned back, allowing me to suck in a lungful of air. "Do you want to know what I planned on doing, or what I want to do instead?" God, the desire and the promise laced in those words were my undoing. I'd never been wanton, never been bold. I didn't go home with men, especially not ones I just met. But I'd also never felt this connection, this arousal. It was insane, but it made me hungry and thirsty. I was starving. I was parched. And I had a feeling the only antidote for those kinds of needs was the man right in front of me. And so I nodded slowly. My lips felt swollen, the blood rising below the surface of my skin. They were probably red as hell because I kept biting at them, pulling at the flesh. "I think what you and I want to do are on the same level, wouldn't you say?" I nodded again. "You feel it?" God, I'd really asked that, said it out loud. I could have kicked myself. But when he let out a low growl, I sucked in another breath. He leaned in close again. "I fucking feel it, Penny." What in the hell was I doing? Throwing caution to the wind? About to agree to let this mountain man fuck me any way he saw fit? And as I stared into his blue eyes, the answer was simple. I sure as hell was. I only lived once, and was only in town for the weekend. Why not go balls to the wall? Chapter 7. Charlie's cock was so hard, I swore I felt it jerk between us after I told him to fuck me. Just the thought of having his massive dick all up inside me made me feel like this was my first time. "Grab it," he said huskily, and I didn't even hesitate before I reached my hand between our bodies and grabbed him. His entire body jerked at that first contact, and the harsh strain in his voice had my pussy becoming impossibly wetter. His cock was like velvet over steel, hot and thick in my grasp. Hell, my fingertips weren't even able to touch because of his girth. I tipped my head slightly back and stared into his face, gauging his reaction. His body was so taut, his fingers digging painfully into my sides, as if I was the only thing stabilizing him. His eyes were hooded as he watched me. He looked a little bit drunk, despite him not having a drop at dinner. It was all because of me and the pleasure I was giving him right now. That was one hell of a power trip for a girl. "Go on," he growled. "Stroke it." I started breathing harder, faster. He did as well. "Do it." Charlie's voice got rougher, more demanding. Shivers raced along my body at the tone. I glanced back down at his dick, the slit at the tip already dotted with pre-cum, and because I felt like a hungry slut, my mouth watered for a taste of all that male potency. I didn't stroke him, didn't do what he wanted. I was doing what I wanted, and that was tasting that glorious cock of his. I was on my knees between his tree trunk thighs a second later, staring up at him, seeing that primal male desire on his face. He didn't stop me, not as I leaned forward, gripped his shaft again, and pulled the tip to my lips. While I stared into his eyes, I sucked the crown into my mouth. His essence, the very male saltiness that made up Charlie in the most primal way, exploded across my tongue. I couldn't help but moan. He tasted so good, woodsy and clean, potent and addicting. I closed my eyes and hummed around him as I started bobbing my head up and down his length, trying to take as much as I could into my mouth. The tip of his cock hit the back of my throat, and I gagged slightly, which, in turn, had him groaning and spearing a hand into my hair. He kept me right there as he lifted his hips, pushing his dick into my mouth again, so I gagged once more. "Yeah," he said in a raspy voice. I renewed my effort, sucking on his shaft, running my tongue along the underside of the length and sucking off the pre-cum that was a steady flow at the crown. I swore I could feel him getting harder the longer I sucked his cock. And then I felt his body tighten, knowing he was about to come. I went even harder, faster, kneading his seed in my mouth, down my throat. I was starved for it. But to my disappointment, he pushed me away gently, and I was left sitting on my knees, staring at his glossy, hard cock that bobbed between his legs. I looked up at him, my chest rising and falling as I breathed heavily, so hard I still couldn't catch it. My lips felt swollen, a little numb, but God, did that turn me on knowing why they were like that. "How badly do you want me to fuck you, sweet girl?" I couldn't even formulate a response to that. Couldn't he see in my face, feel in my body, just how much I was ready for this? Tell me how much you want me to shove my big dick right up your tight little pussy. I couldn't breathe. I felt lightheaded. I was dripping cream down my inner thighs with my need. Here I was, on my knees, my legs slightly spread, and Charlie looked right at my pussy like he'd never seen anything hotter. I have a sweet tooth, Penny, he said low, smooth as silk. He lifted his eyes to look into mine. And you're the only thing that can sate it. My pussy throbbed, my pulse beating in my clit like it had its own heartbeat. I want you to tell me how much you want my big fucking cock deep in your tight little cunt. Those words were this animalistic growl from his full, masculine lips. I could hear my heart racing in my ears, and my palms started to sweat. I want that. He shook his head, leaned forward, and braced his forearms on his thighs. Tell me the right way. I swallowed the sudden lump in my throat. I couldn't help but glance down at his erection. Charlie. I purred his name and watched as his body got harder right in front of me. Shove that big, hard, magnificent cock deep in my little pussy that's so wet for you. I leaned forward and pushed his arms away so I could brace my hands on his strong knees. I want you in me so deep it hurts. Before I could anticipate what he was doing, Charlie hauled me off the floor, placed me on his lap, and dug his fingers into my hips, growling like the primal beast he was. If you want it, then take it with that pretty pink pussy, Penny. Well then, challenge accepted. Chapter 8. I pressed my breasts to his chest, feeling the soft hair that covered his pectoral muscles, and moaned at how good it felt. My pussy contracted along his cock on its own, his length framed by my lips. Go on, girl, he taunted. I reached down and wrapped my hand around his cock. He was all but bursting in my palm. Slide all that wet hotness on me. Ride me, Penny. His words were getting shorter, deeper. I could tell he was slowly losing his control. I want you to milk the cum from my balls with that tight cunt of yours. Charlie's words were harsh, guttural. I rose up slowly but didn't impale myself on him, and instead, I rubbed the bulbous head of his shaft up and down my slit. Christ, he gritted out. Do that again, baby. I did that over and over, running the flared head up and down my length, letting him feel how hot and wet I was for him. He cursed, shifted enough he could open his bedside dresser drawer, and pulled out a condom. He tore at the corner with his teeth, pulled the latex out with his free hand, and slid it down, sheathing himself and placing the tip at my entrance. Placing my hands on his pectoral muscles, I didn't deny myself any longer as I started to slide down his cock, engulfing him. The sound of his teeth clashing together was strong, and when I felt his very male, blunt nails dig into my flesh, I knew he was just as gone as I was. His broad chest heaved as he sat still, letting me take all of him in my body. But I could tell his restraint was slipping. He hummed and whispered so low, I wasn't sure I heard him correctly. I'll never get enough. And when I had all his dick in my pussy, when I slowly ground myself on him, hearing the grind of his teeth, I knew I wouldn't last. Oh, God, I whispered, and started rocking back and forth on him. Fucking bounce on this cock. And I did just that. Yeah, he hissed, and I swore his eyes rolled back in his head from his pleasure. That's it. I've never had anything like this. His voice was rough, full of need. He stared into my eyes so hard that I felt it like a physical touch. Watch me as I fuck the hell out of this tight, sweet pussy. My chest ached from the force of his words. Watch as I push all this cock into your primed cunt. I looked down the length of my body, seeing where his cock met my pussy. I started lifting up and falling back down, and in turn, he pumped his hips up, meeting my movements over and over again, harder and faster. I saw his dick disappear into my body before coming almost all the way out, the length glossy from my cream. When his cock became visible, I saw how shiny it looked from my wetness. Everything in me tightened at the sight. He stretched me so good, and the burn of the pleasure was still there. I didn't want this to end. Fuck. I've never seen anything hotter than all your pussy juice covering my dick. My arousal pumped through me, the overabundance of adrenaline and pleasure making me feel high and drunk, and like I was no longer in my own body. And I rode him harder, faster still. My pussy sucked at his cock, his big dick stretching me wide, making me feel like I was going over the edge again and again until it was maddening, and I accepted that I'd never be the same after him. I moved up and down, the breath leaving me in uneven gasps, my tits bouncing as I rocked myself on him, seeking more of that delicious burn, that addicting pleasure I felt only he could give me. And when I felt his hand make contact with my ass, that clap of his skin meeting mine, I went off. My orgasm rushed forward, and I felt the world disappear, but not before he grew impossibly harder in my body. I didn't want to stop it. I never wanted this to end. Look at me, he demanded, and I peeled my eyes open, not realizing they'd been closed. Sweat covered his chest and forehead, and his jaw clenched tightly, as if he was trying to hold off the inevitable. But I wanted him so mindless that he couldn't think or even breathe. I wanted him to feel what I felt in this movement. So I used my inner muscles to clamp down around him, a gasp leaving me at the same time he cursed out vulgarly. He groaned, and his eyes were nothing but blue, glowing slits in the darkened room. You see what you do to me? He asked, but I had a feeling he spoke to himself, not meaning for those words to actually spill out. I could see he was right at the edge, that it wouldn't take much to make him go over. And I wanted to witness that so damn badly, but I didn't know how much longer I could last. I already felt myself gearing up for another mind-blowing orgasm. I clenched my pussy muscles around his dick again, and the growl he gave me had power consuming every single inch of my body, right down to my soul. His fingers were digging deep into my skin, and I knew there would be bruises tomorrow. Good. I wanted his mark. I wanted the proof that this night actually happened. I was clearly not going fast enough because before I knew it, Charlie had both hands curled around my waist in a vice-like grip and started lifting me up and slamming me back down on his cock. The wet, sloppy sounds of our sex filled my head. I didn't think about anything else but this moment and the leisure I felt. I didn't care that this man was a stranger, that after this night, I'd have to leave. It felt wrong, but I told myself that was the reality. So tight. He bared his teeth as he stared at my face. So hot. So fucking wet. And it's all for me. Only me. Isn't that right? I gasped and nodded, even though his words were as crazy as what we were doing. He slammed me down hard on him once more, stilling, letting me feel how much he filled my pussy with his monstrous cock. Charlie groaned, his neck muscles standing in stark relief in the shadowy room, his body seeming bigger than life at this moment. I wanted his cum, wanted it filling me, coating every inch of me. The fucking condom was a barrier I never wanted again when it came to Charlie. And as I let him bounce me up and down on his length, knowing this was his pinnacle, his peak, all I could do was hold onto his shoulders and let him fill me up. And God, did he do that so damn good. He grunted once, growled after that, and on the third thrust into my pussy, he buried his face in the crook of my neck and came. After long moments, when I finally felt his body start to relax, I allowed myself to run my hands up and down his back. Our skin was damp, our bodies sated. I'd never felt so complete before. He kissed the side of my neck sweetly, softly, running his tongue over my flesh, lapping up the beads of sweat I knew dotted it. I heard him inhale again and again, and I closed my eyes and let this feeling imprint in my mind forever. His dick was still hard inside me when I shifted and rolled off, my limbs like noodles, my heart racing. God, he made me a fiend. I didn't know what I was supposed to do now. Leave? Do the walk of shame? But before I could really think about it, he had his hand curled around my waist and pulled me right up against his body. I swear I heard him purr in pleasure. Stay with me. Let me hold you. Let me fuck you all night. My toes curled at his words, and I closed my eyes and purred myself. I rubbed my body against his like some kind of cat in heat, feral for his touch. I couldn't leave if I wanted. You drove, I teased, and his deep chuckle speared right through my core. I wouldn't let you leave anyway. I'm keeping you forever. I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. That sounded magical, even if it wasn't realistic. Right? It wasn't, was it? And as I let him hold me, as I felt the drugging wave of sleep slowly start to take me, the only thing on my mind was that I never wanted this night to end. Chapter 9. When I woke up, I knew the spot beside me was empty. I felt his absence as clearly as I felt the oxygen moving in and out of my lungs. The sun came through the window and washed my face, but it wasn't warm, not with how cold it was outside. I hadn't even opened my eyes, and the headache that was slowly starting to form behind my eyes pounded fiercely. Hungover. That's what I was. I rolled onto my back and peeled my eyes open, blinking a few times as I stared at the wooden beams above me. I slid my hand beside me, the sheets cold where Charlie had slept last night, where I remembered him holding me close to his body, my back to his chest, his hand between my thighs all night long. Despite him fucking me so thoroughly that I was actually tender down there, desire started waking me up even more. My pussy throbbed, not just from being sore from the pounding Charlie had given me, but because I wanted to go for round 3, 4, and round 5. I noticed a thick-looking robe draped across the end of the bed and pushed the blankets off me before grabbing it and quickly wrapping the plush material around my body. The wooden floor was cold beneath my bare feet, and I went over to the dresser and pulled one of the small top drawers open, seeing it was filled with socks. I grabbed the thickest ones I could find, not the least bit shy that I was wearing his clothes. The way I'd given myself to him last night had all shyness leaving me. I left the bedroom and made my way out to the kitchen. The scent of coffee was strong and had my mouth watering. After pouring myself a cup, I walked over to the French doors that led out to the back deck. I just stared outside, at the freshly fallen snow dotting the trees, covering the ground, and even the deck. I saw footprints on that freshly fallen powder, and a second later, I watched as Charlie came around from the side of the house. His arms were filled with chopped firewood, and the only thing he wore was a pair of dark boots, worn denim jeans, and a long-sleeved black Henley. He looked rugged and handsome, those pieces of lumber cradled in his arms, looking small compared to his size. My pulse started racing the closer he got, and when he was stepping up on the patio, coming toward the doors, I moved to the side. He pulled one of the doors open and stepped inside. His focus was on the ground as he took each log off with one hand and set it aside, still holding all that lumber with his free arm. And when he lifted his head, I swore I saw his nostrils flare as if my very presence made him uncontrollable. A low growl left him at the sight of me as he swept his eyes up and down my body, seeing I wore the robe he laid out for me. His eyes dropped to the socks I wore. The corner of his mouth kicked up at that, and I felt a wave of warmth encompass me. He didn't say anything as he walked past me and headed toward the fireplace, but right before he cleared my path, he leaned down slightly, brushing his nose along the top of my head. I swore I heard him inhale deeply, as if he were taking my scent into his lungs. I watched him walk over and set the logs beside the hearth, adding a couple more pieces to the fire and stoking it. The flames licked over the wood, eating it, the oxygen giving them life. Charlie gave me life. I stared at his muscular back, the way he was on his haunches, how his shirt was stretched over his broadness, and the strength that poured from him was so potent every female part of me sung this high-pitched tune to mate with him. I found myself taking a step toward Charlie. He stood and turned to face me, and I froze, not sure what the hell I was actually even going to do. What was I going to say to him? We stood there, a handful of feet between us, our eyes locked. The heat that bounced in between our bodies, having nothing to do with the flames from the fire. And then he was striding toward me, slipping his hand along the side of my throat and cupping my nape, using his thumb to tilt my head back just slightly so I could fully look into his face. He looked down at my lips for only a second before he leaned in and claimed them, stroking his tongue along the seam until I opened and allowed him entrance. I sucked on that muscle, drawing it into my mouth before pushing mine into his. We did this over and over, back and forth, our lips and tongues fucking the others. I was needy and desired him right then, my pussy wet, my cream sliding down my inner thighs because I wore nothing underneath this robe. I gripped his biceps and curled my nails into his taut, firm skin. He pulled back, both of us breathing raggedly, as if we'd just run a marathon. "Stay with me the rest of the weekend," he growled, leaning in again and kissing me once more. "Stay with me, and let's see where this goes." When he pulled fully back this time, my head was dizzy, as if I were still drunk. I blinked up at him, not sure I fully understood what he meant. He wanted me to stay the rest of my time in Candied with him? To see where what went? I assumed this was just a one-off for him, a romp with someone from out of town. Of course, that's not what I wanted, but I was too much of a coward to actually say anything about it. I'd been ready to chalk it up as my one sexy encounter with a lumberjack kind of man in Vermont. But the connection we had, the electricity I felt move between us, was far more potent than anything I could ever explain. I already realized this was insane, that how I felt for Charlie wasn't normal or rational. But I was crazy enough to see just how far we could go, how far this would go. And then what? I questioned, my hands still wrapped around his biceps, because I refused to let him go, refused to let his body move away from mine. "You can't deny that what's between us is pretty fucking powerful." His voice was so deep. I licked my lips in response and slowly shook my head. "No, I won't deny it." He groaned and leaned down to capture my mouth in a searing kiss before pulling back again. It was torment, agonizing ecstasy. "And then I'll come to you next weekend." He smiled slowly. "I can't let you just walk out of my life." Anything I could have said died in my throat. "What I felt the first moment I saw you was fucking crazy, but I'd never felt it before. It has to mean something more, and I want to explore that." I was so stunned by what he was saying and asking, by what he wanted, that I actually took a step back. How was this even possible? I didn't want to say no. It was almost abhorrent to me, the words refusing to spill from my mouth. I had absolutely no idea where this was going with Charlie, but it felt right. It felt perfect. It felt like it was what I'd been missing my entire life. So when his hand, which was still curled around my nape, pulled me back toward him, I said the only thing that felt right. Okay, I'll stay. I want to see where this goes too. I'd never been more excited for what my future held until I looked into a pair of bright blue eyes and saw the promise of more. The end. This has been Candied by Jenika Snow, read for you by L. Sonali.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, lady listeners. Thank you so much to Jenika Snow for bringing us Candied and letting us play it on the podcast. Remember to check out her website. Everything is on there, and everything will be down in the show notes. But on her website, she has a whole section that's free. She also has her Patreon on there. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and we'll put all the links down below for that as well. And make sure you check out her brand new Monster Romance exclusively in audio on her website. So it's going to be filthy. But thanks so much, Jenika. And let's see who we have up next week. Oh my goodness. I feel like I need a drum roll every time I go to look for. Oh my God. It's Amani J. And she has brought us back. She's back on the podcast with us. We love Amani so much. She has brought us a book called Krampus Snatch. And it's like at first I was like, what is the name of this title? But it's called Krampus Snatch. We'll talk all about it next week, but it is ridiculous and in the best way possible. So I'm super glad she's back with us. So I think that's it though.
That's it. All right. We have a series going.
Oh, yes. Gosh, we always forget to talk about our stuff. So, yeah, make sure you check out the brand new Alexa Riley books. The first one we have is A Beastly Christmas. The second we have is A Cuddly Christmas.
I love that title.
I do, too. It's so sweet. So, we have that series. The second book should be out now. You can be on the lookout for it. There's actually 4 books in total that are coming in this series that you'll get before the new year. So that's exciting too. Make sure you check those out, and then make sure you check out our Patreon for extra epilogues. I've started putting a note in the back of the books when I format them that if you read an epilogue and you're like, oh, there is only one, if you want another one, you can go on our Patreon and subscribe to it and get more. So make sure you check that out. And if you are already subscribed to our Patreon, thank you so much. Your subscription helps to fund more of this. So the same with Read Me Romance too. So 100% of our Patreon subscription goes back into the podcast. So we really appreciate you subscribing. I think that's it now.
I think that's it. Tell them what to do.
Fuck your day up. Make today your bitch. Don't be a dick.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Read me romance. Read me romance. Read me romance.